I'm joined by James Lynch, the CEO of Welcome Churches. And James, as we start the week, asylum hotels are back in the news. MPs on the Home Affairs Committee criticising the overall cost of housing people in these hotels from 2019 up to the end of the current contracts in 2029. From your perspective, as an organisation working to help churches reach out to those housed in these hotels, what are your thoughts on the continued use of them?
Yeah, hi Dave. Good to speak to you. I think when these kind of things hit the news, they are staggering. They are shocking. Just to see the sheer numbers that are included there. You know, we're talking about some large sums of money, both in terms of the overall costs. We're talking about the overall cost of 15 billion. It's a huge amount of money. The other number that's quite huge as well is the amount of profits that are being made by those housing providing companies. And I understand that some of those profits are still going to be reclaimed by the government, but haven't yet been processed. That's also a big number as well. So the numbers are one of the first things I think that hit us. But I think your question goes deeper than just as a reader, as a CEO of Welcome Churches, as you say. We're very much in touch with the individuals who these contracts relate to. And I suppose my other reaction to this is to look at some of the other information in the report, which talks about that, you know, the government themselves are happy to admit that these hotel solutions, these temporary accommodations, were only ever meant to be for a short-term period of time. And the escalating costs has come about because of that. The contracts were entered into were for a certain number of accommodation units. And it was for a short-term period of time. We've heard of some refugees and asylum seekers who have been in a hotel for coming up to 3 years. So the system is broken. The solution that was originally intended to be a short-term solution isn't being used as a short-term. It's being used as a long-term, and that has all sorts of other impacts as well. So alongside the figures, which are scary and are quite concerning, we need to also think about the welfare and the conditions in which human beings are living. And let's remember, I'm sure our listeners will be aware of this, but you know, every one of these individuals has come here in a way to seek asylum, to make a new start, to flee, in many cases, extreme violence, extreme persecution. So I think it's really important to see through the numbers, recognise that they're big, but also to see the individual lives that are being affected by these policies, and the fact that things that are meant to be for short term are turning into much longer term.
James, as well as people having their say with their politicians locally and nationally on all sides of this debate, is it also important that Christians do what they can to reach out to the people in these hotels? I'm aware Welcome Churches equips churches to do exactly that. Is that becoming more mainstream within churches, do you think?
Yeah, and there's some fantastic examples across the country, across the UK, of Welcome Churches who have reached out and built a really strong relationship with the accommodation blocks in their own vicinity, and have built up a relationship with the people in them, and also in some cases with those people that are running them. And there's been some great stories of whole communities coming together and finding a sense of belonging because the local church has opened up its doors and has provided a welcome, whatever that looks like, however much time and effort it goes into that, whether it's something every day of the week or just once a week. It's incredible to see what the impact that makes on the lives of those people who are basically imprisoned in cell-like accommodation in these so-called hotels with very meagre supplies of food and resources. For them to go somewhere where they can feel the warmth of a Christian church who are welcoming them, who are able to put food on the table for them, give them activities to do, and help them to build healthy relationships with one another is an incredibly positive way that the church can respond.
Does it also help people in the wider community who may have very legitimate concerns about these strangers suddenly being put into their midst? Because once we actually start talking to people, we can find so much in common, can't we, even across cultures?
Absolutely, and every one of them is a human being. They have human rights, and they have a story. Many of those stories are, as I said earlier, are devastating, but they all have a story, and they all have something to give. And I think it's incredibly positive when we can get down to that deeper human level, where we can share food together. We can. I went recently to a drop-in in Bradford, and I played pool with some Iranian asylum seekers from a local hotel. I sadly to say I got thrashed, but it was a great opportunity just to have a chat over a game of pool, something very natural, something very normal that just normalises the people we're talking about here, and helps us to understand some of their story. Okay, broken English, my Farsi is absolutely rubbish, but it was the ability to start to understand a little bit of the context of where these people are coming from. And just on that one, for the church that provided that welcome and that really inclusive place of belonging, it also helped them because they were running a food pantry, and have a guess what? The food pantry was staffed, and all the boxes of heavy tins were carried by those Iranians from the local hotel, who were then helping the local church in their own food provision. So they were really giving back, and they were really ready to help out. And if anyone ever says to you, these asylum seekers coming over here just sitting around doing nothing in hotels, I can tell you how hard those young men worked on that day, lifting heavy crates of food up and down, and they just delighted to be doing something useful. Let's not forget the government has stopped these people from working in the first year that they come. They literally have nothing to do. They were very, very happy to get involved and worked like Trojans to serve food in that particular church on that day.
James, we're aware that the current Labour government wants to close all these hotels by 2029. They want other solutions for how to house people who are seeking asylum. That could include using military bases. It could include government-built or government-bought accommodation blocks. Could that potentially make it much more difficult to reach out to these people from our local churches?
So just a little bit about the way it works currently. As Welcome Churches, we have a good relationship with the Home Office and with some of the housing providers across the country as well, so that they will put our information, including a QR code, into their accommodation provision, which means that somebody arriving in the UK, being placed in a hotel or a hostel somewhere, can scan a QR code, can find information in their own language to then access the services by the local church in their area. So that system works currently. If that was to change, we would still have the relationship with the housing provider that was placing those individuals and families in housing accommodation, whether that be in hostels or hotels or barracks or anywhere else. So we would still be able to carry that relationship on. Obviously, it might mean that we move around the country a bit. It might be that where the established 210 hotels in the country are, there might be new locations. Now that presents an opportunity as well as a challenge for Welcome Churches. We want to increase our network of 1,420 churches in the UK. We want to make sure we have got at least one church in every town and city across the UK that is prepared and ready and willing to offer a warm welcome to refugees and asylum seekers who arrive in that area. That's our vision, that's our goal. And as people get moved around the country, obviously that's a challenge for us as well as an opportunity to increase our network and make sure we've got churches in those areas where those barracks or whatever else it might be are likely to open. We want to be ahead of the game. We want to be there already talking to churches, making sure they're equipped, they're trained, they've got the resources ready, and they're ready to open their doors and offer a warm welcome.
Just finally then, James, as many churches around the country start planning for Advent and Christmas now, is how we interact with asylum seekers and refugees actually a key part of that planning, do you think?
I think it really is. And like with anything, we can look at examples in the Bible where things happen that might appear to be negative, appear to be challenging. I think God brings in a perspective that is an opportunity and can become a blessing. With Christmas coming, it's obviously going to get colder. Churches can open their doors, can offer all sorts of activities, a warm welcome, even just a cup of coffee, and make sure that people from the local refugee and asylum seeking community are able to come to those events is a massive way of just expressing the warmth and a sense of hope that Christmas brings to us as Christians. And, we can go back right to the nativity story itself, and to remember the story of Mary and Joseph, who themselves, in a sense, were refugees and were seeking a place of welcome and warmth and not getting it in many cases. The inn door was closed to them. But fortunately for many refugees in the UK, this Christmas, the door of churches can be open to them. And that's our hope and our prayer, that would be the case for many this Christmas. There are lots of ways that people can get involved in that. If you go to our website, which is www.welcomechurches.org, you can find there are lots of information on there about resources you can offer to people coming through your church doors. There's also ways in which we can help to train the churches to be able to do their welcome even better and to be more welcoming as people come to them. We've also got an Advent devotional series, which you can sign up for free on our website, which will take you through a number of Bible studies through Advent, just drawing our attention to the refugees in God's story in the Bible. And we can use those as a way of just thinking through and praying through our own response as Christians to what's going on in the world outside.
James Lynch from Welcome Churches, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Dave.